I wanted to talk about. I have some friends who are they're just on the cusp of orthodoxy, and I feel like they're kind of looking for just anything they can kind of fuss over, or just to kind of stop that last crossover where you can see where
I,
everything.
I don't have evidence of icons and worship in the first century AD, which you do,
Yeah,
by the way. But
it really is like those last few things, and I've heard a couple of times now people kind of fussing over the second Nicaea. If you do not venerate the icons, you are anathema, and they're like, oh, maybe they don't have a problem with icon veneration, but
it
it's
just
just
means outside the church, though. Like they're already outside the church, so why do they care?
yeah, they
You
seem
liar, it means they're going to hell.
I guess so.
that's
Which,
exactly what they'll say.
right, which if we're not the church, how do we have the power to send you to hell? So why do you care?
Yeah,
Excellent point.
so they'll say that if you're saying let them be anathema, that means that they're outside of the church, and if there's no salvation outside of the church, then that means they're going to hell if they're not kissing the pretty pictures. So what is the best way that I can kind of soothe somebody to say like, hey, it isn't that? And I welcome all to answer that in whatever way you see fit.
I think Father Stephen put it well a little while ago, where like for that idea that there's no salvation outside the church, it's like, look, God is using the church to save the whole world, right? We're not in the like God desires for all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. We're not in the business of like damning people. Like that's not what the church is about. It's about saving people. That said, we do have like limits on the church. Everybody has had that forever. They even the most ecumenist Protestant, most ecumenist, your standard evangelical also would have limits on the church. Your standard evangelical would not concede probably that a Mormon is within the church. They would say that they're outside the church too. It's like everybody has limits and boundaries. It's just a matter of like where it is. And I don't think it's something to hold against Holy Orthodoxy that they have like clear boundaries and have delineated like where you're in and outside of the church. There's also like a whole issue of authority that we could open up and go into. Like when you were talking about that we're sending people to hell, or we're not actually really, but there is a certain power there. You see in Matthew 23 when Christ condemns the Pharisees, more or less, he says, for you shut people out of the kingdom of heaven, and you don't even enter yourselves. Right? That's the same authority that's handed on to the bishops, right? So I think it's just a lot of double standards, and those standards that they impose on orthodoxy, they don't even impose on themselves. Like that really early, like linchpin evidence of icon veneration or the assumption of the Holy Theotokos. You don't see a Protestant canon for like hundreds of years after that. So they have standards for us that are like pretty impossible to meet, but they don't impose that on themselves. So just fundamentally unfair. It's kind of my take. Also, show love to them probably in the fruits of the spirit. That's also a good way to convince them of orthodoxy.
Of course.
I guess we can like go around Father Stephen.
Okay. Yeah. So this is going to sound mean, but any person who makes that argument to you is an irrational person, because that's an irrational argument that makes no sense. I won't join the Orthodox Church because the Orthodox Church says I'll go to hell if I don't join the Orthodox Church. That is an irrational argument.
But it's so mean.
Because if it were true that we said that, let's say for the sake of argument that the Orthodox Church did say that, okay? A rational person would say, well, I need to find out if that's true, right? Because I don't want to go to hell. And if it turns out that's true, then I will join the Orthodox Church. Right?
But Father, what about how it makes you feel?
Right, exactly, right? And posing it that way presupposes the opposite. I won't join the Orthodox Church because the Orthodox Church says I'll go to hell if I don't join the Orthodox Church. Presupposes that if the Orthodox Church said there was no reason for them to join the Orthodox Church, then they would join the Orthodox Church.
Mm-hmm.
That statement is just as irrational, right? Like the mirror statement is just as irrational right? So this is not a rational argument they're presenting to you. This is based on feelings.
Absolutely.
Right? This is based on, they're saying something mean about me. Okay. And so Alex was pointing this in a nicer way, right? I would express it more bluntly as, okay, you need to ask then, okay, if we're going to arrive at, you don't like that we're saying something mean. Okay, we can try to address it at this level. Okay, why do you think we're saying this mean thing? Do you think we're saying this mean thing just to insult you? Right? Or are we saying this mean thing because we care about you? Are we saying this mean thing maybe because we don't want you to go to hell? Right? Because we care about you and we want you to find salvation, and we believe that salvation is on offer in the Orthodox Church. And since we want you to find salvation, we're telling you, hey, if you want to find salvation, you need to join the Orthodox Church. And if you don't, I mean, I'm not saying for sure you're not going to find it, but since this is where it is, it seems a lot less likely. Right? And I wouldn't bet on that. And since I care about you and I want you to find salvation, right, this mean thing is actually an invitation. Right? If you have a friend, right, and they're doing drugs or they're cheating on their spouse or they're doing something, whatever, right, and you come and say to them, look, man, you're messing up. You're ruining your life. You're doing this, right? And they reacted with, why are you being mean, man? I don't want to be your friend anymore. Right? What's ahead for them, right? You're saying that to them because you're like, hey, you need to straighten up, right? I want good things for you. You're saying it to them because you're your friend. And so that's, I would approach it as, and I may not be nice enough to do it, but in terms of trying to help them make that mental turn, right? And anybody's capable of this. I remember a few years ago, Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller, the magicians.
Yes.
Right?
That's a throwback.
He's an atheist, right?
Yes,
and
famous one.
Yeah, is famous for being an atheist and stuff. But he was talking to another atheist, right? This other atheist was complaining about, Christians are always trying to convert you to Christianity, da 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 da. And Penn Jillette actually stopped him and said, well, no, that doesn't upset me anymore. He was like, well, why? It's so annoying. They think they're better. They think they know better. Da, da, da. He's like, no. He's like, Ben Gillette was like, no, they care about you. They really believe that if you don't accept Christianity, right, that you're going to go to hell. That's why they want to convert you. That's why they're telling you this. That's the place it's coming from, right? And so Penn Jillette was like, he's not going to convert to Christianity, but he at least understood when these Christians come to me and want to tell me the gospel and try and get me to become a Christian, that's coming from a place of they love me, they appreciate me, they like my persona or his work, as an entertainer or whatever, and because of that they are trying to do something nice. So try and help them realize that when the church speaks on any of these things, right, it's not speaking with the intent to exclude people. It's saying this with the intent of drawing people to change their minds, to repent, to change their ways, to be included.
Cassian?
Yeah, everything that he just said, what Father said. That's a very good summary because, I wrestled with this for like many years. And part of it was just studying scripture where like St. Paul, Anathema, he excommunicates people, the Judaizers. And I think a lot of our ecumenically minded people today would say, St. Paul, he should have come up with some kind of compromise or ecumenical statement to like, do some agreement with the Judaizers.
They could have messianic congregations.
Yeah. Let's have the Ebionites and the Judaizers all still in this, but he viewed it as like destructive to the actual thing, and I think that's what it comes down to is, you have to have, you're out of communion because if you bring this stuff into communion with us, it's going to be destructive to our community as well. And I mean, with the Seventh Council, they're destroying images of the saints is when this is happening. It's devastating to see destruction at that level when you should be honoring these images. And so that's how I've come to the conclusion is, well, the scriptures do it. The fathers of the councils are consistent with how the apostles thought. And, I also thought about this question because people criticize us for closed communion. Like, hey, we're a Christian. You should give us communion. Like there's kind of like this right that's going on there. And first of all, it's like, there's a lot that's missing where this was talked a lot about when I was Roman Catholic was let's just give certain kinds of Protestants communion. So that they're sort of like getting closer to us. It builds a bridge for them to become Catholic someday. But in many ways, it's like does the opposite.
Crazy. Yeah.
It does the opposite. They're not going to go, like, if they don't believe in the order of like priests, like the holy orders, they're not going to go to confession before communion. There's a whole list of things they wouldn't be practicing, which then causes your whole idea of communion to fall apart. So that's the moment that Orthodoxy accepts these basic premises, they become Protestant, which is what I think Protestants want Orthodox to become. So that's a few of my rambling thoughts at midnight, 1 o'clock.
Baylor. Yeah, while Father Stephen was talking there, I was just kind of reflecting on this fact that like up until like 5 minutes ago, everybody in the Christian world would have thought everybody else is not a Christian. And there's this, I don't know, there's just this strange phenomena, this like postmodernist idea that's taken over everything, which is nobody's allowed to say that they have the truth and that they're right. And if anybody can say that they have the truth, it should be Christians. And so there really shouldn't be anything bad about us saying we're right. And if you have an opinion other than what the church says, you're outside the church.
It's the pillar and ground of truth. It's that simple. Also, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to go and start your own church. Like it says that at the end of Romans, right? That those who are like causing the divisions and factions, and that they are not serving Christ, they are serving their own belly. Like it's just so obvious. Like there's one church, not allowed to start your own church. You have to join the one church.
Yeah. I have.
How dare you condemn the genuine Orthodox? You're the real heretic. You're in communion with an ecumenist somewhere.
So it seems. Bill, does that answer your question, man?
It does, and you touched on something lightly at the end there that I'm actually struggling with right now. I've been on here a couple times, and I have a friend who's.
I remember you, yes.
Yeah, he's getting into universalism, and he really does not like the idea of objective, definitive answers. Like there's a group that he's in that I've offered some answers to people, and I'd say, I'd offer an explanation. He's like, when I answer questions, I say that's just my 2 cents, but you say, I hope this helps.
That
like,
is such a lame. Sorry, I have strong feelings about this as an advocate. That is just so milquetoast, like weak sauce. Commit to a position. You're a man, for goodness sake. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I think, in my opinion, although you can also look at it from this perspective, which means, what do you think? I don't care about all these perspectives, right? Sorry. Now I'm ranting, but that way of speaking, just like I get an intellectual humility sometimes. I understand that, and like even like I will say that sometimes like I think this, however, I'm open to correction on that. Right? Like, fine, but I mean, I know exactly what kind of archetype of person you're talking about, and those type of people really bug me.
Well, that's something I kind of experienced a lot of before coming to Orthodoxy, is just increasingly this idea that, everybody in the Christian world has some kind of truth.
It's like you can't know the text somehow. Like, no, yeah. I'm sorry. When it was written, it had an objective meaning that meant something, right? Like, this is not some mystery. We have 2,000 years of tradition The whole thing has been exegeted already. You don't have to go looking for some like mystical meaning. We know what it says. But
Yeah.
sorry, Bill, that's probably has nothing to do with
The correct response, by the way, to him would have been for you to say, yeah, well, the idea that I should say it's just my 2 cents is just your 2 cents.
Oh, precept.
That's very good. That's very good. Yeah, yeah. They don't like objective. This is the same friend. I literally.
They're
asked him-
relativists. They don't
Yeah.
like objective truths.
Yeah, I asked him what a Christian was, and he was like, "I don't think that's a helpful thing to define."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, great."
Anyone who identifies as a Christian.
Yep.
It's like being a woman.
It's postmodern slop. Sorry, I don't want to be too mean to your friend, but
No, absolutely no. I want to grab him by his shirt and shake him around a lot sometimes, but I think that I really do have to just kind of leave him alone and let him do his dumb thing, and then eventually, when he says that he knows something, then we'll get into that discussion. But the last thing I'll.